entry and saying like, hey, I want to claim asylum. Can you like put me on the docket? And because of the policies on the books right now, you kind of have to. Um, and the issue is that when the Biden administration was supporting legislation in Congress to change that, Donald Trump shot that down and said, don't pass this legislation. We want to keep this issue open for the election. All of this is out in the open. Nothing I'm saying is like a conspiracy or not like, up for debate. Like this is all just like been said publicly. So
Yeah, but
I
what
don't
was in
understand
that?
why you would support. Wait,
Yeah,
what?
but what was within that piece of legislation exactly?
So the
Because you're just saying
legislation.
shot down. It could be anything. It could be packaged as something else.
Sure. You can Google Langford congressional immigration bill or whatever. But basically, what was in it was a bunch of different ways to combat issues pertaining to the asylum seeking process. So, for instance, one of those was, I think, capping the number of people that could come in per day to 5,000. If the numbers were reaching so high that the administration would have the ability to say, hey, listen, pass this. It's nobody else. It's too much. Another thing was providing more funding for a lot of the court systems to provide for more judges and more hearings so that they could work through the backlog of cases quicker rather than having, I think it's like 3 million people are in the United States right now waiting to have a case heard, which is insane. It's the largest number of people ever. These are things that would have eased the burden on the asylum seeking process and made it more manageable at the border. There were other provisions in the bill as well, I think, that provided more funding and staffing and stuff, but I think those were the big ones, was changing the asylum seeking process.
Jesus Christ, my phone is so laggy. How many listeners are in this? I'm pretty sure that's the issue. Oh yeah, 9,000. That's probably the issue. Why? Because my phone's like overheating as well. So yeah. But besides the point, letting in so many people would be a problem, would it not? And I think that probably Trump would do something to deal with this, would he not? I think that's what was also one of his talking points. So it would be a policy thing,
Yeah,
something
but
that
I
I
think
think
everybody
could be
wants to.
beneficial.
Everybody wants to do something. Nobody is pro people coming in unchecked at the border. Nobody is. Like,
I mean, they kind of are at the moment.
really? Who's supporting it?
How many people are against it? Whenever you voice any opinion against, say, people crossing the border, and saying, okay, but it's a perfectly legal process, but then you have all kinds of problems that are happening post that process. It's like, how do I explain this? Like, whenever you voice any opinion on this, saying, hey, probably you want to slow this down and probably only let people in based on merit, as opposed to just saying, yes, here, just come on in, because that's exactly what's happening right now. Also giving them money, and the people who are coming in are also pretty criminal in some instances. Like, I think that's a bit of an issue, right? So if you're saying something about that, then instantly you get dogpiled on.
Like to recenter, nobody is supporting that. Nobody supports the idea that anybody should be able to come into the country legally. Democrats don't support that idea. You can't find
Yeah, of
any
course not.
Democrat.
Because technically speaking, they aren't coming in illegally, but in a sense, they also are.
The asylum process is not supported as well. That's why they tried to pass reform in order to curb the people coming in through asylum seeking. That the Democrats supported that in Congress. It was the Republicans that shot it down. Why would they support it if they
I'm
like
listening.
the process and they want people to come in illegally like this? Or not illegally, I guess, but through the asylum process.
By the way, you may want to restart the space because the problem is there is no comment section on the space right now. So like when you start the space, are you doing this from your computer or from your main device?
Well, it was from my computer, but my computer crashed, so now I'm just on my phone. I can restart the space if you want, though.
Okay. Yeah. So what you do is basically restart your space from the phone, but make sure not to invite anyone via DM. Plus, like, start the space and just like wait on it for 30 seconds as everything clears up. Then you basically click skip, or else the space crashes and you don't get the comment section popping up. Because it actually needs to send out a post.
Wait, what? Why? Wait, what would this change, or what's the issue right now?
Chat.
The issue is that there is no comment section under the space. If you were to go here, there is no comment section. There's actually not even, I don't think there is the actual space itself on your timeline. Is there? Actually, yeah, there is, but there's no comment section linked to this.
Oh, wait, do we need the comment section, or I guess we can. Okay, wait. So
yeah, if you wanted to have a communication with that. Yeah. So basically, so after you close the space here, you basically restart it, and as you're starting it, you just basically wait for 30 seconds. And then you just click skip on the DM invite thing, because that pops up as soon as you basically start the space. I feel like that's a good way to fucking you can just, like,
get viewpoints and get stuff and side check the discussion.
Is there, can I do that on my desktop? Is it going to be the same on my PC or no?
You could do it on your desktop, but it's easier to do it on your phone.
Okay.
I just always I always schedule it on the phone as well, because sometimes on desktop it doesn't work correctly, because as soon as the Spaces interface is actually launched, the browser app sometimes crashes.
Okay, well, give me like 5 minutes and I'll redo this, okay?
Okay.
Okay,
5 minutes? Oh, brother. Yo, turn your computer back on, bruh. It's okay, DGG. I got you guys, man. I'm streaming it from the fucking thing.
But this is gonna get him into even more trouble. Do you understand this? This is gonna get him into even more trouble because now he's gonna wade into arguments that he knows nothing about. He like knows he's obviously knows nothing about what he's talking about. He has no fucking idea what he's talking about.
Okay. Is the thing above or not? Is it did they restart the fucking thing or not? Nope. What would I even say anyway?
Okay, because he's a student of history. It's not because of his policy package. It's not because of prior political positions. It's because they like the way that he communicates. It's probably the most popular aspect of Donald Trump. So I reject the idea that, well, just because they support him doesn't mean they, enjoy the name calling or anything else like that. I think that that's one of the main reasons why people support him.
So just for the rhetoric, essentially. But that would be very... I mean, I don't know about that. Do you think that someone like, say, Elon Musk, for instance, would be supporting this dude specifically for his rhetoric?
I think Elon Musk would support somebody like Donald Trump because Elon Musk doesn't have any knowledge or information about the political system in the United States. He's largely uneducated about political affairs, both domestic in the U.S. and internationally.
Was that fake Elon Musk? Who was that guy
that owns the libs? And I think Elon Musk has been attacked a lot of the times unfairly from people on the left. So as a reaction to that, he supports Donald Trump.
How would you know that he's unknowledgeable given the fact that he's basically, a government contractor, in a sense? I don't think he gets more knowledgeable than that. You'd have to understand something about politics, and you have to understand something.
We'll see. If this doesn't do it, then I guess I'm just going to be, fucking with my computer tonight. Why not stream from the studio? Oh, go downstairs? I don't have like a camera.
Bro, just boot up the fucking Twitter space, bro. Holy shit. He's blowing this.
Okay, space settings, speakers, who can speak? Manage space. Okay, we've got co-hosts, we've got listeners. I don't know how to turn on comments.
I'm 1 degree separation to Elon, brother. There are bridges that aren't worth burning, okay? If I ask them to get speaker and I just say some shit, I mean, it's worthless. That's just stupid. I'm not gonna do that.
Boogie is calling you a liar? Listen, maybe I'll chop... thanks for the $100, buddy. Maybe I will jump in and chat with him after if they're still talking.
Is he gonna open the fucking space? Yo, he's blowing his opportunity. Bro, Bro, he is blowing this so badly. What is he doing?
Invite speakers.
Oh, I see it. I got this. Let me speak, bro. Let me speak. I'll do it. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in this Twitter space with Destiny and Elon Musk. We are experiencing some technical difficulties, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Thank you for your patience. That's nice. I could do that. I could moderate this. I could pull this off. Guys, I could do this. No, I'm just kidding. I don't give a fuck.
Okay, real quick, can you hear me? Okay, real quick, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I
hold
think
on,
it's
hold on. Okay. What on the, I don't see any part on any of these settings for like allowing comments. I don't see that anywhere.
No, that happens automatically, but I don't know why it's not happening for you. That's wild.
Huh. Well,
That's
you know,
wild.
Elon, somebody at X demonetized my account earlier, so maybe I lost some features.
He says, that's
You
wild.
don't lose a feature like that. That seems to. Okay, how about this? What if I were to host a space? Would you be fine with that?
If you'd like to, sure. I'd like to be co-host because in a lot of these spaces,
Yeah,
people
of course, 100%.
aggressively mute somebody. Yeah, if you want to go
No,
for a host it and then invite me. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Oh man, co-host, and at the end, you gotta let me speak in. You have to. You have to. It is Elon Musk, is it not? Bro, no way this thing would be doing all this, and there'd be this many people listening if it wasn't him. It's his alt account. I'm not greedy. I'm not trolling it. Even if you would have given me a right to speak, I would literally not say anything. I would not say anything. It's live again. How am I missing out? I'm right here. Guys, this literally is him. Bro, he speaks like him, and dude, I'm not kidding about this. If I got bamboozled, I will admit to being gullible as fuck, okay? But his response to arguments and the way that he defends himself is exactly like him, 100%. The way when he gets a question that's kind of tricky, and he backs up, that's 100%.
I can't believe that xQc is in here. That's hilarious.
Hey!
Very hilarious content, by the way. I really like you.
Really? Oh, man. That made my day.
Still waiting on Destiny.
I can't believe it. I'm not going to request it to talk.
Oh yeah, the comment section is there, and it is being completely bombarded now. Yes. But yeah, from early comments, I was seeing like people asking me if I'm conservative. No, I'm not. I have no political affiliation whatsoever. I'm kind of like an observer in a sense. And ironically, for an observer, you kind of have this issue of the observer effect, wherein you wishing to make a certain observation, also seeking that observation, causes an interference So that's what you're seeing here, because obviously if you wanted to just be an observer, it's probably not one of the best ways to do it, given that you actually have an impact. But that is besides the point.
Yeah, unfortunately, people can use that stance. I'm not saying he's doing that, but people can use that stance, and they can use the observer mask, right, to have a lot of backing, and then use that as kind of a way in to sway things. And because they have the mask of being an observer, right, it's kind of easier to do that. I try not to. I try my best not to. Sometimes you do it by accident. You do. I think a lot of people do that by accident.
Ah, there he is. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to send you the a direct invite like this, because then if you ever disconnect at any point, then you can immediately come back up. Yeah.
Okay. Hello. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, as you see that little blue, purplish thing there at the bottom right. That's what people enthusiastically always call the purple pill. So whenever somebody comments or wants to comment on the space, then they basically click on that, they write something, and then it shows up as a comment section. In the future, this will be, revamped a little bit as well to have additional
Chat.
features.
Will this go on my timeline if I
Okay. I'm on the
comments?
desktop version, so I don't think I see that particular thing, but I'll take your word for it.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, I've heard it's white.
So
keep speaking about other brains.
So real quick. So you mentioned being a neutral observer. Okay. Here's a problem that I have with a lot of people that call themselves neutral observers. Feels like people that consider themselves neutral observers give so much credence and charitability to the right, and they give absolutely none of that to the left. And I think a good example is the conversation we just had about immigration. I don't think any mainstream Democrat, I don't think any lawmaker is saying like, we need open borders. We like the border situation right now. If that was true, I don't think Congress would have had the support to pass legislation to dramatically curb a lot of the asylum seeking that was happening at the border.
That's not true. I've heard many people state that we need open borders so we can get more talent in, essentially, right? Because we need more workers. I think someone has actually used that as a legitimate talking point. I can't recall who exactly, but that had occurred.
Okay. So generally in conversation, well, hold on. So the old me, I would have said I don't like to push resources, but if you're going to make a statement that strong, I would have to know who's like a lawmaker or a Democrat leader that said we need open borders.
Not focus on politics. I'd have to find it. I just saw a clip of this guy. Really, nothing more than that. I tend to be not focused on politics practically at all. My main focus is essentially just technology. But, given the opportunity, yeah.
Yo,
I don't think
DGG.
any Democrat has called for.
I'll give you guys a bone if you can answer me. Is this actually him or not?
Have the support in Congress to pass legislation to reduce immigration.
When was this exactly?
A few months ago, when the Lankford bill essentially was before Congress, and Donald Trump said, "Don't pass this." And then people like Ted Cruz went on TV and they're like, "Oh yeah, like it doesn't go far enough. We're not going to pass this." And Donald Trump said not to.
I wonder what else is contained within that, because oftentimes when laws are made, they're packaging something else within it. So perhaps there may have been some element to that was not satisfactory. I wouldn't know.
Well, let's say that was the case. Then why wouldn't they try to rework it and pass it slightly modified? Like it's not like Republicans said that. Okay, well they didn't. They just got shot down. Like I said, like
is it this guy?
In Congress, they were ready to pass this bill, and then Donald Trump came out and said, "Hey, we don't want this passed because we need to keep this open for the election because I'm the only one that can fix
platform on the internet.
the border, basically."
And perhaps that is an argument. I wouldn't know.
Do you think a legitimate argument is the ex-president should be forcing the country?
So why is he debating this guy then?
How would it be a worse position? I mean, how would you know it's a worse position?
It's not.
I wouldn't know what it is.
It's actually not.
Well, I think right now we're in a worse position because the
Destiny said it's not that. So everybody here, we're all dumb as bricks.
It is true, but why would it force you into a worse position if you wanted to deal with a certain problem?
We could have passed legislation to help cut that significantly, and Donald Trump stopped it to keep it open for the election.
Okay, perhaps that is an argument. And what is this?
Chat, you know what?
Dear God.
unless he made a good
I'm trying to keep up with the comments
backstory
as we're speaking
on
as well.
how it's not him.
Yes, I do have a
so that he
YouTube
can
channel.
speak on a burner account.
Yeah, it's basically
without breaking the
sending
rules.
that name handle. Yeah, just like on X. Okay, sorry.
I think that's actually it.
Damn. Okay, so the question, I kind of wanted to bring it back to the initial communication that we've had, where I just wanted to understand why exactly you're violent, right? Because, I mean, let's say, for instance, you wanted to make the way that we are communicating, for instance, I think that is very productive, right? I'm pretty sure that you could have a similar type of conversation with anyone else on X without actually raging out. Is it, and what you'd say is, oh yes, because everyone rages out at me.
It's actually
Could
not
it
him.
perhaps be that if you never basically give them a chance to be nice, that they will always have a negative opinion towards you, and thereby always be somewhat negative in this sense?
So I would fight back against that. And I think that something that is poisoning our political discourse right now is the idea that as long as people aren't calling each other names, it's productive conversation. I think that people in the center and conservatives have deluded themselves into thinking that anything that remains below a certain decibel level is somehow productive. But it's not. I think that the ideas and opinions that you just recently had about the border stuff were absolutely and completely and totally incorrect. The U.S. Border Patrol Union hates Biden. They endorsed that immigration plan that Donald Trump shot down. Donald Trump made our country measurably worse. All of us are worse off for it. The people that end up illegally immigrating, the people at the border that are trying to protect our state, U.S. citizens that are deprived of social spending and welfare, and the general security of the country has all decreased, all because Donald Trump shot down legislation that would have improved the security at our border. But a lot of people in the middle, I guess like you as a neutral observer, look at the left and blame them for immigration, even though in this particular circumstance for the past several months, it is wholeheartedly, squarely, and solely to put at the feet of Donald Trump. So having that little conversation that we did before I just did that, and saying that, well, that was a productive conversation. No, it wasn't. You didn't change your mind at all. You're not going to change your mind based on anything I say, and nobody listening.
Oh, no, I don't make any condemnation of anything. No, I don't make any condemnation of anything. I'm just basically trying to get a kind of result out of you. I'm just basically prompting you. That's what I'm doing. Because I always hear the same types of arguments. I just want to hear something different.
It actually might be him.
The entire purpose of this conversation.
Okay, what do you want to hear something? Sure thing, go for it.
Dude. The minute, guys, the reason why he stutters, okay, could be for a lot of reasons. Like a lot of people for public speaking or whatever, like people that are adamant about something or whatever. There's stretches of time where Elon has not stuttered, okay, when he's not on public stage, okay. Sometimes he does not stutter. He is stuttering here a little bit. Also, his accent flares up when he goes down in the notes or whatever.
Again,
and he does, this guy, if he does the same thing, and if this guy's an impersonator, he's a god. I'll tell you, this is actually good.
Again, I like to stay out of that.
Because he does the same thing.
My primary focus was that of technology. And speaking of technology, now, of course, you say that you want to keep... What is your goal, actually? Do you want to keep the temperature, and I believe that with temperature we mean the emotion of political discourse at a low. Is that correct? Like you kind of want to keep the temperature low?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay, but don't you think that being very angry on X.com, basically calling people all kinds of names, kind of goes against that?
I don't think it makes much of a difference.
You are a very big person in this space. You are causing a lot of impact with everything that you do. It definitely does make a difference. I mean, basically, I cannot name one big account that doesn't know of your existence thanks to these very controversial, thanks to this very controversial style of speaking, right? So you definitely have an impact. You definitely are making a difference.
Have you ever been in a canoe before, or any kind of boat that you have to row?
I cannot hear you for some reason.
Have you ever been in any kind of a boat that you have to row, like a canoe?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that when we talk about maintaining our political system or when we talk about maintaining a certain political temperature, I think that it's like going forward in a boat, that you have to row from both sides. If only one side rows, it doesn't matter how gently they do it, it doesn't matter how aggressively they do it, you are always going to veer off course. When you look at the political temperature that exists in a country, it's a function of how everybody is coming together and doing discourse. And I would argue that conservatives, especially through supporting people like Donald Trump, especially because they're supporting him for his rhetoric, which is absolutely fiery and is absolutely known for being as divisive as possible. It's what he does. I think that Republicans have made it impossible to have the temperature be low on any political conversation that happens in the United States. And when one side's not rowing, looking at the person on the other side and going,
that's
why
a
don't you
logical
row more
fallacy.
gently, doesn't get you
That
any
is
closer
a
to moving in a straight line.
dialogous logical fallacy, unfortunately.
That's a very strange argument to make. Hang on a second. I'm getting... Hold up. Give me a sec.
It's called the double false fallacy. Where, oh, because they do it, I do it. I'm not going to be better. If he does it, I can do it. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. In a boat or a canoe, like he says, if one guy keeps rowing and then you're off course, if one guy's always doing the right thing, he says, hey man, could you do the right thing? Hey man, could you do the right thing? Right? At one point, you might be able to go on the main course. But if you do the same thing they do, you will never go anywhere. Be better. Because somebody does some dog shit doesn't mean you can do dog shit.
Difficulties.
Be better.
Can you repeat the last thing?
To truly call somebody out on doing bad,
Yeah,
you have
I
to be
think that
above
when
them.
One
You have to
side
do better.
has driven up the climate of this country so high, it doesn't really matter what the other side does. Your temperature is stuck there. The other side has dictated the minimum level of political discourse, and that minimum level is going to be supporting a guy who tried to insurrect the government and who's known for giving funny nicknames to his political opponents to demean and disgrace them.
Yeah, but everyone is doing this. By your argument, then everyone is also doing this, because it doesn't matter what side you're on, that is happening by default. Basically, I don't know what you're trying to do here, nail down which side is most responsible for this.
Just to be clear, do you think that Biden's rhetoric is as inflammatory as Donald Trump's rhetoric?
Inflammatory, I'd say no. And there isn't really, like, if you want to define rhetoric, that's a bit of a slippery slope to go down. You know, has he said certain things that I think could be problematic? Yes. Perhaps there have been certain mistakes while he was speaking that could be problematic. Yes. Is Donald Trump doing name calling? Yes. Is that okay? No. But I think both sides have issues. That's my point.
Not Elon.
Now you can argue which one is worse than the other.
Okay, you said that your background is in tech, right?
Somewhat technological, yes. I tend to focus on tech. My background is, like, you can define that as whatever.
Okay, let's say theoretically you were trying to run a major social media platform, okay? And you had two huge problems. One is you've got a lot of engineers that are arguing in favor of refactoring huge parts of the code base because they think that it's too old or it's accumulated too much tech debt or whatever. Okay, that's one side, all right? And there's a huge argument over what should it look like going forward from a software development side. And then on the other side, you're trying to run the entire company off of a Raspberry Pi. If somebody were to look at these issues and say, okay, well, we've got a big problem here, would you turn to that person and go, yeah, but I mean, like, both problems are, you know, really huge. Both problems are contributing to this company not working.
At this point, you're trying to ask me whether or not you're trying to identify which problem here is really the Achilles heel. So what's the Achilles heel? I don't understand. Because if you're describing this thing...
Who the fuck is Achilles?
Sorry. I have a habit, because I'm used to back and forth conversations on Discord. So if I'm starting to talk, I'm not trying to cut you off. So sorry if that's...
Oh, no, all good, okay.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that if you look at Biden and you look at Trump and you go, well, both sides have problems with their rhetoric. While it might be true, I'm sure with any politician, that we could pick out things where it's like, well, should you say that? Maybe we should say something, you know, different. Or maybe this might be problematic. I don't think that it's on the same scale. I think that Donald Trump has made a name for himself with his divisive and fiery rhetoric. I don't think it has ever been said ever in the history of U.S. politics that Joe Biden's rhetoric is too fiery and inflammatory. I think that Donald Trump is known for this, and moving away from just his speech patterns and the way that he conducts himself, we can look at like his results in Congress, and we can see that Biden has brought together people in a historic manner in a historically divided Congress for bipartisan legislation. Donald Trump was unable to do that.
Perhaps. Okay, so now we're talking about the rhetoric thing. I think could there be a chance, perhaps, that he has recently shifted away from that to a certain extent and embraced something that is a bit more, managed? As in, let's go back to the CNN debate or MSNBC. Because he had a debate between Biden and Trump, and I think Trump may have really conducted himself quite civilly there. Of course, many people are saying that he's just basically lying across the board. This could also be true, but has he not conducted himself civilly in that instance?
He crashed again. How is he crashing? Just boot in safe mode or some shit.
Can a bunch of people throw a thumbs up if you guys can still hear the conversation? Oh, I think he's rugged. And his stream crashed as well. I just got text saying that his stream crashed. Oh dear. Oh, this is wild. PC problems. Yeah, it could be. xQc. Yeah, mic check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh yeah.
Nice. It's great.
Yeah,
It's great to be finally kind of like talking in a sense. Yeah, I've watched a lot of your stuff back in the day.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, he just blue screened, so I just wanted to, just confirm it. But yeah, it was too late when I got there. All good. I'm not gonna.
Oh, that's funny. No, all cool. Yeah, I noticed that as well. I keep getting all the comments that are coming in. But how are you doing, man? You want to have a conversation about anything in the meantime?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. You know what? Not really. I'm more of an observer, I think because sometimes you said it
You
earlier.
also.
When you want to be an observer, you have to be like a non-participant. That's what I am. I'm just listening.
True. You react to a lot of things as well, I think. So that's really the best way to do it. I react in a sense as well, but I kind of deviate more towards the negative side of the observer effect, wherein you actually do cause a bit of impact, which is kind of funny because that adds to the observation itself as well, right? Because it's kind of something that you want. Say, for instance, bend certain situations a certain way, so you get more information out, information that hasn't existed before. So yeah, it's kind of how I see my own kind of like place within observation.
Yeah, I try to react in like, I try to have fun with it, but sometimes I try to react in a like responsible manner. If that makes sense. Not to blow things out of proportion or be stupid, but sometimes I fall short. But I mean, everybody does, so I think it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, you're a little bit wild in between, which I think is sometimes important when it comes to content generation. Like, I do understand that. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're of course nothing like all the other YouTubers who like basically have caused massive amounts of, dare I say, harm through pranks and whatnot. Basically like creating lots of drama without any reason.
Yeah,
and also some reaction YouTubers that just steal content. That's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I just do it for fun, and I try not to I don't have any goals or agenda. I'm not trying to push anything, so that's why I try to. I find my reacts to be kind of like not harmful. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, dude, same, exactly. Like I really agree with that. It's kind of a nice place to be in because you don't really have to hyperfixate on one thing and then kind of like, push that and then have that be evolved into something that then becomes like a lever in the system, which massively changes things in this way. Because I think that's kind of a problem, and it's not something that everyone should do. Like, for instance, if you are going to do something like that, you may as well just like have something like a rocket company if you wanted to take that as example that I'm very familiar with. So yeah, but if you don't want to create massive amounts of change, then yeah. I mean, of course, say for instance what I'm doing here, and I've been on X for quite a while. Back then it was Twitter when I first came on. It's 2021. I've only actually done Spaces since 2023, I think. Yeah, I started in 2023, moving into 24. And so basically I went from 0 to wherever I am now. And basically all these spaces are just about trying to cover AI content and sometimes also bring people on who are qualified in those areas. Say, for instance, I know some people who are quite qualified, and we then discuss certain research papers, whether or not it's realistic, how it makes sense. I would then kind of try to bring it down to reality, Because the issue that I see quite often that is happening is many people are having discussions about AI, but they're way too fantastical about it, right? So there's no actual accuracy. Everybody's going to say, hey, this machine's going to come alive, but they don't understand how the machine works in the first place, yet they still say it's going to come alive because that's something that sells, right? It gets clicks. And this is really a problem. So if you looked at it, say, for instance, from a more scientifically accurate perspective, then it not only just becomes more peaceful, but also can sometimes be very entertaining as well, because it is almost philosophical in nature to understand what that function is like, because then it also kind of changes how you think. And that's kind of why I chose to cover AI.
Yeah, I understand, but do you not think that it's kind of like a normal human response to almost want it to come alive, and which will kind of impacts the whether or not you're going to say that it comes alive or not, regardless of like your expertise on the topic or not?
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. We tend to have this problem where it's like it's kind of a reminiscent of the Hegel slave master dialectic, wherein you actually want to seek an understanding of what's within by seeking that in some entity that is without. Right, we'll say, for instance, oppressing that entity, right? Because that's kind of how that works. And so that's kind of what we're doing with the machine. We're taking concepts that we understand with biology, and we then basically force that upon a machine, and then kind of make it real in a sense to help us understand ourselves. Like we look, for instance, to these types of machines with enormous capability as if they were some sort of god, because we've always sought kind of the ultimate creator, because we're kind of slaves to our own volition.
Okay, interesting. So what else do you do on here?
Just that, basically, cover AI. Sometimes just have fun, troll people, that I do quite frequently. This is whenever I talk about Tesla content, which is, of course, you're aware of Tesla and how that works and whatnot. There's a lot of misinformation around it, and that's primarily what I cover, right? So say, for instance, somebody's making up some nonsense, I just put them in their place. Like there's this group out there, and this group continually, that their entire purpose is to discredit Tesla somehow with nonsense they make up that is somewhat, it sounds probable, but really is not, right? And so it's funny to troll those people, because if you can actually get down to the bare issue of things, they always like to say it is an issue with a company, but then they always go back to it's an issue with Elon Musk, right? And so when you start to discuss how exactly they have an issue with that person, you start to find all kinds of weird flaws. And this is something that you can easily troll on. And it has to happen, because if you're going to make up endless amounts of bullshit and you think there's no consequence to that, look again.
I understand. Okay. Yes, sometimes you whenever you speak, we're on a topic, and then sometimes I'm trying to you do three topics, or like three like questions or answers, right? And I kind of forget what was the first or second topic, and the third one doesn't really have a rebuttal, so it kind of ends right there,
Yeah. Basically, what you're describing is like kind of a context overload almost. Because whenever there's like a point that's forgotten, then it's just context overload. Yeah, I'm very context heavy. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's just, sometimes it's kind of easier when I talk to somebody like that to have take notes, but kind of makes you look stupid when you take notes.
Yeah. I tend to drift off a little bit because everything is kind of connected. Like basically, if you look at the universe and the way it operates, it's like a gigantic math equation, where you just basically use math as sort of an allegory and know how to understand it as kind of a language, because that's what language I kind of think functions as well. So yeah, everything is kind of connected. So you always end up finding something that's adjacent to a current thing that you speak of. Almost like a fractal, if you really thought about it this way. Which again is demonstrated with how I've communicated just now, so it's funny.
Yeah. There was poll being ran, a lot of polls, and it's kind of hard to figure out if people were trolling or not, right? But they were asking if you were Elon Musk or not, right? And I kept thinking, at this point, does it really matter or not? At this point, I feel like it doesn't, because the same people are going to be here regardless. And you're doing enough of a good job that we won't be able to tell, so it doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I don't understand how this works out. It just tends to be something that's coincidental. A lot of things are weird about this world, and things tend to be. It's almost like with time. If you look at any event in time, things tend to echo in a sense. We like to say that history repeats itself. I just say that it echoes, and it makes more sense that way, because every single time there's an echo, there's something different about that. There's something different about hearing this one thing that's already echoed before again, right? It changes, or it's frizzled out a little bit. Think about it that way. And so I would say that I'm just kind of like an echo in the simulation, if that makes sense. I'm not the guy, but I'm close enough in some aspects, almost like an echo. If you were to say, scream into a valley, and your scream returns, that doesn't mean that is someone else screaming back at you. It is just kind of an echo of that scream, and you can tell that there's a difference, right?
Yeah, for sure. Also, by the time you say it again over the echoes, I mean, the context kind of changed and people changed and things kind of moved. So it's going to be a different experience regardless.
Exactly. Yeah, same thing with time, because like, for instance, I think a lot of people often refer to the Roman Empire, where they talk about today's society, as in like saying that there is kind of a fall of society and that it takes on a parallel of what has happened with the Roman Empire, right? So we say it's Rome all over again. Well, yeah, isn't that an echo? Because technically it is Rome all over again, but it's different this time. It's with memes and Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the comparison I would have made, but Roman Empire, memes, and yep, gotcha. Makes sense, yeah. Also,
Yeah, that itself has also come from a meme.
well, oh yeah, that comes from a meme, gotcha. So where's Destiny at? Want me to call him?
I have no clue. Yeah, I see there's no one there.
Oh no, he's coming back. He
Well.
says, keep talking to him. I'm coming back. He's chinning PC. I think he's
Sure.
going downstairs to the studio.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this conversation is perhaps a little bit more entertaining because I basically don't focus on anything political whatsoever. But if you ask me something that's like philosophical, or perhaps even when it comes to something that's, I think to an extent diplomatic, I'd be able to give you better answers because I just don't give a shit about politics. And if you see me, say, put posts that are somewhat political in nature on the timeline, that's just basically me documenting something that had occurred. Right? Say, for instance, breaking news, a certain law has passed, breaking news, this has happened. That's nothing to do with me. That's just a thing that exists, right?
Okay, then how about something that not to do with you? That's not political, but it can be. What about the interactions on X? Ever since the takeover on X, I feel, or Twitter at the time, I feel like my engagement with the platform has diminished a little bit in quality, but actually increased in density somehow. What do you think about that?
Interesting. Yeah, I'd say that's correct. There's a bit of a shift here. The tactics that have initially worked, they don't work anymore. But it's still very similar, I think, to Instagram and the way that it functions. When you want to talk about the algorithm, right? So things are heavily motivated, I think, by events of high impact, but then also its consistency. Say, for instance, when I make a certain post that is, say, a breaking news post, right? And within that is something that a lot of people have interest in, then it basically attracts a lot of density. However, I also post other things that are kind of unrelated to this, perhaps quotes and whatnot, that get less engagement, sure, but they still get reliable amounts of engagement, if that makes sense. So if you're like being consistent and you have like some sort of a niche that you've created for yourself, then keep being in that niche and just try to put that out as consistently as possible. Like say, for instance, I think for most people, they actually post too little. That's one problem.
Yeah.
And they interact too little as well.
Yeah, because then they know that they want to post things that are going to do good on the algorithm, and they want to have success with it. So they only post things that are going to get those clicks and are going to do good, and post less of things that will get less, right? So it tends to be very bottom heavy in that case. Then.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this, for instance, you, in this case, you're a streamer, you have a very loyal fan base. Honestly, for you, if you were to say, put out, say, an average of at least 10 posts a day, you just think of whatever, just have a clip or something that you want people to react to. You just basically put that out there with something that you genuinely feel like is something that you would click on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Something that you'd be interested in. It's kind of like a vibe check. Don't post something for the engagement. Post it for the sake of saying, yes, that needs to be out there. I think this is really important. Something like that. Right? Because if you post something for the engagement, it's destined to fail. Every single time. Unless, of course, you do engagement farming, but that engagement is functionally worthless.
It is worthless. Yeah, I speak about that pretty often too. Sometimes, something I say a lot is you can make a big stream for 100K people, right? And nobody cares about it. And you can make a stream with 10,000 viewers or whatever that everybody cares about. And I feel like the level of impact is a lot bigger with the 10K stream than a 100K stream, right? Depending on what you do. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Look at this, for instance, right here. We have an instance right now where there's a huge space. Now, my spaces are basically, hang on, how big? What is the size right now? It's at 9K. Okay, yeah. So basically, my spaces on average are like a 90th of whatever this is right now, sometimes, right? So it's like, it's a very small amount by comparison. But that doesn't discourage me in a sense. So like, for instance, you'll have glory moments where a post gets millions of impressions, right? But really what you should really kind of be focusing on is posting things that are of interest to the audience that you've accumulated, right? This is also why sometimes when people say, oh, you have to do reply guys strat to get reach, sure, it kind of works technically, but people will follow you for your posts and not for your replies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's in terms of like streamers, like what I do and what Destiny does, right? I think it's what makes the people continue to do good, and something that the big streamers all understand is that yeah, you'll have the big ones and the heavy hitters, but it's the foundation that kind of keeps you going and kind of gives you like a lower fan base. Also, I think Destiny's here. You could probably give him a speaker now again. I think he's right there.
Yeah. By the way, your last post was in was on the 2nd of July. You know, look at what day it is now. It's like the 15th. So you've had like 13 days of inactivity on the account. Just be active like every single day. And if you were to post like 5 to 10 things every single day, your reach is going to go up because people have to actually interact with your stuff. And if they don't interact with your stuff, given that there's no stuff to interact with, then they're not necessarily going to interact with the next thing you put out. You know what I mean? It's not like with YouTube. Over here, it's like completely different. It's the opposite of that. Wherein you have to have consistent activity, which is kind of almost like YouTube Shorts in a sense. And then you have big bangers in between, which are like your video essays that you put out every 2 months, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of got cooked here, man. You got me on the ropes now. In a way, I feel like I'm engagement farming if I'm only in doing engagement to make sure that my next post has good engagement or that people actually interact with or whatever, right? I've always had it more like kind of like natural or kind of grassroots interaction. If I feel like posting something, I do it, and I hope that people click or interact with it. And even though it'll do not as good as in the algorithm, it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody wants their content to be interacted with, and of course you then post a certain way. That is, of course, true. And I think that that's not even a problem, really. It's just, what are you targeting with priority? If you target with priority value to your community, then yes, you will get interaction from that community because you yourself understand what they would want to interact with. Right? And that's something that you need to consistently post at a relatively high frequency. Like, you can choose whatever high frequency looks like to you. In my case, my high frequency is anywhere between 5 to 10 posts a day. And that's quite a lot. You know, that's quite a lot, especially for an account that's small, that's this small. But for some account like you, for instance, which is a lot bigger, if you were to put out, like, say, even only 3 posts a day, whatever it be, that's also enough. But you could also dial up those numbers just a little bit to something like 5 or 10, because then that's an optimal thing to do. Right? You think about it in terms of hours, like post one thing every hour or every 2 hours, right? And then you kind of measure how much content you can fit within that, and then everything starts to make sense. And then have that in your mental space. It's almost like a grid that you have open, and whatever content you think fits through that just falls into it.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I'll post more often. Thank you for you're doing
Also,
God's
I
work
mean,
for
look,
real Elon. You know.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I love the platform. I love X. I really hope it succeeds. And besides, you know, another thing that's interesting is, say, for instance, I'm not sure if you care about this, of course, right? But, you know, there's monetization, and if you don't post anything, there's no ads that's going to be shown under your stuff because there's no stuff to kind of like, you know, there's no interaction, right? So post more frequently. It's good stuff, you know? And don't be offensive. Try and basically look at what Destiny's doing, but do the opposite of that. Like, be very nice.
Oh, damn. Come on, man. You're going to call out Destiny like that when he's not there? I mean...
I said this to his face. I don't say anything behind anyone's back that I wouldn't say to their face.
Fair enough. What was this applying to that? Because I kind of called him out too. I mean, not to his face. I mean, behind his back, of course. About like the violence stuff or whatever. Yeah. I feel like, regardless of the politics, I feel like it's not because somebody shows up somewhere that he deserves whatever consequence happens to him, right? I don't believe that you attending a Trump rally or any rally for that matter, you don't deserve like the range of bad things that could happen to you in said context. That's my take.
Oh yeah, I highly agree as well. Yeah. Because I mean, that's just unfair. You really shouldn't be wishing harm on people in general. I mean, perhaps, you know, everybody has a small, because it's just natural. War is natural, so everybody has this natural tendency to want conflict or to engage with something that's conflict based, right? But there has to be a limitation. You know, are you going to attack a dead person? Because that's what that effectively is. You know, that's just weird. Even when I see people engage with that person's account today, and I see there's like his posts and his replies and they circulate again, it feels odd because you look at that and you say, it's almost like that person is still speaking, and you're just playing around with what is essentially a dead body.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
wild.
Yeah, a dead body, just like Destiny's account right now, because he can't speak, is the kind of a dead body almost. But you can revive him if you want by accepting his request to talk. That's currently a pending.
I don't see the request for some reason. How many requests are there actually? Oh. Yeah, I can't see any requests other than. Oof. Yeah, maybe if I get on a different phone. It's good to have multiple devices in case one of them either fails.
Oh yeah.
Because disconnects are frequent with whatever you do, especially when you do spaces. Things just happen because it doesn't look well optimized, but it doesn't matter. There's still ways around it. Okay. So I've connected on the other device, and it's worse now. I can see even less. Jesus Christ.
You might have to restart
Yeah,
it then.
whoops. Let me clear that. Unless I set up on the desktop. Ugh. Hold on. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bacon.
Chat. Guys.
Okay.
Guys. I've known at this point for like 45
Oh,
minutes.
shit, Diablo is
It's
still
not
on.
it's not
That's not good for my CPU.
It's not the real Elon, just because of how much he cares about this and how much he's struggling to make this work, right? When it's like, it's just,
Damn.
it is not him.
This is gonna take up so much processing power. Because I'm like running Chrome with a Periscope instance that has this many connections to it. That's wild.
Maybe you make me maybe you can make me co-host if you can still do that, and I can just get him as speaker, and then I'll downgrade myself to listener.
Yeah, sure. Oh, you don't need to downgrade yourself. You can stay on the space. You can even comment if you like. There you go.
Oh, okay. Join as co-host. I gotcha.
Yes.
And then
Yeah, welcome to Mission Control.
done.
Wolf.
Did I?
I saw a flicker of his existence.
Yeah, he's a speaker now.
Oh, okay. Okay, mic check. How's your computer?
Goodbye.
Destiny? I can't hear him for some reason. Not sure if he's speaking.
Yeah, we can. I'll text him. He says 1 second microphone. He probably has to accept microphone on the browser, right? Like the little pop-up thing.
Ah. Yeah. There's so many requests, it's like, wow.
What do you mean?
That's wild. A request, you know when you see it at the bottom there? You
Yeah.
see a little thing that says requested? Yeah.
That is wild.
Yes. You ever done spaces before?
Nope. Nah,
You should do it.
Yeah, but I don't. Maybe if there's something like going on or whatever. Otherwise, I'm just always live. You know, it's just in my interest groups,
Yeah.
not a lot of things happen on the fly that like need sort of talking about. You know.
I think it would be a really good way to interact with some of your fans, for instance. I think at some point you may even get subscriptions enabled on your account, and then perhaps you could have like subscribers only content. They could subscribe to that, and then you could like have those people request and do a subscribers only space. Those are quite cool as well.
Interesting. Yeah, you do that sometimes. Subscriber only. I try to do like no paywalling ever, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, then you can also do
it's more
without
like-
that. It
yeah,
just depends on like who you want to let up. Yeah, because I think space is a really good way to interact with your audience. Like, say for instance, me, I can't just like reply guide. It's a huge waste of time and cognitive energy for me personally. But to do it via spaces, just like let people up occasionally, is very nice, and it's all and there's also a lot of control with it, right?
Yeah.
You just have to be careful with who you let up. There are a lot of trolls out there, and
Yeah.
account size itself does not determine whether or not they're a troll. It just has to have. It just has to be people that you know. If you do
Yeah.
spaces, or don't do that at all.
So my philosophy on all that is that there's no like extra value in a subscriber in terms of what they're going to say and how they're going to interact compared to someone who is not a subscriber. The only thing difference is if you're on stream and you have subscribers, right? If you have like a subscriber only chat, is that you can moderate it easier, and there's a kind of a risk for them not to get banned because their account is subscribed for like a lot of months and they don't want to lose that. Does that make sense? So you kind of filter some sort of quality like that. But on Twitter, subscriber only, you're only diluting, and it's not really worth it to do that.
True. That was just a suggestion.
Yeah, you'll go.
That's interesting to hear that reasoning. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
I
I was always wondering.
That's in your back end, by the way. It's he has to accept the invitation.
Yes.
Okay, does
yeah, I
this
think
work?
we're close
Hello,
to good.
testing.
Yes, it
Holy
works.
All right, I'm out.
fucking
Goodbye.
Jesus, fuck. I love you. Thank you, X. Okay, my bad.
What
All
just
right.
happened to you? What happened there?
I updated two.
I
vital
can't
pieces
believe
of
I have to
software
stall this
morning,
long,
my
man.
operating system and my OBS, and something is causing Windows to blue screen. I don't know why. So now I moved downstairs to my studio, but my studio is not set up to do audio like this, so I had to reconfigure all of my audio devices, and here we are. But I believe everything should be
Wild.
working. This computer won't blue screen. Okay.
Guys, I know it's not about Elon.
Welcome back.
It's just all the other people that are like
Welcome
political.
back.
They probably
All
want to
right.
hear what Disney has to say.
Where were
So
we?
I have to keep it professional and chill, just so that he can bridge
Yeah, I
back
kind of
in.
just want to get again. I kind of want to keep away from the politics as much as possible. I don't want to do anything with that. Specifically, what I want to talk about again, because I'm harkening back to that, is the nature of the way that you speak. Right. That's it. Right.
Okay.
So your explanation for why you speak in, say, violent manner, I think we can describe this as a violent thing. You say you're doing this because you don't think you have much of an impact, and the other side is doing this as well.
Well, to be clear, I never said I don't have much of an impact. I said that I don't think
fumble
we can
It's
have much of
not
an
him.
impact on lowering the temperature. I think that for the temperature to come down, both sides have to be invested in lowering the temperature, and conservatives have shown for the past 8 years that they have absolutely no desire to lower the temperature. That's what I said, or meant at least.
Which conservatives specifically?
Donald Trump, the leader of the Republican Party.
And so that guy and whoever you think supports him are like all in the same bucket, want to drive the temperature up. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But then don't you think that engaging, so if, of course, you want to, like say, being or having good decorum on a platform actually has a positive effect, but you think that there's so much of a negative effect being caused at the moment that you yourself could not possibly make it any worse. Is that correct? Because that's kind of
Guys,
what that logic sounds like.
It's not him.
A little bit. I think you can probably always make things a little worse. I just don't think you can make things that much better. When you say good decorum, one of the issues we run into, I think I was talking about this before my 4th or 5th computer crash. The issue that I have with good decorum or good conversation is right
think
now it seems like
he
the marker
used
for
AI
a
too.
centrist or for a neutral observer to say that a good conversation has happened here is just for nobody to shout at each other. But I think the issue that I'm running into is there are two things to look at when somebody speaks. There's the manner in which they speak, and there's the content that they speak. And I feel like we have completely disregarded all content, and we're just looking for people to speak calmly at each other, even if they're saying horrifying things. I think that conservatives have been in the business of saying horrifying things for the past 8 years, oftentimes with inflammatory rhetoric, but not always. But when they don't speak with inflammatory rhetoric and their tone is nice, they're still saying horrifying things. So I don't appreciate it when conservatives are saying, well, we need to bring down the rhetoric. I don't like that joke that you made, when they have been in the business of amplifying and causing the temperature of the conversations to increase so much over the past 8 years.
Specifically, you mean anyone who supports Trump? Because there are different conservatives across the board. There are people even who don't support him, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. As a shorthand, when I say conservative right now in this context, I just mean conservative, Republican, or Trump supporter. Understanding there are some conservatives that don't support Trump, although the vast majority do, but not all. There are never Trumpers. There are conservatives that don't support Donald Trump. That is the case. But the majority of the party, you would agree right now, is absolutely lockstep behind Donald Trump, right?
I think so. Perhaps. Yeah.
When you say I think so and perhaps, how could it be any other way when every single lawmaker is lockstep behind Trump, when people that don't like Trump get excised from the political party, and when he enjoys broader support than almost any politician has historically in the Republican Party? What do you mean you think so? It's absolutely.
Has JD Vance been excised? He has a very interesting opinions of Trump.
Because he fell in line.
Are you sure?
Considering that he just got chosen as the vice presidential pick, and considering J.D. Vance is on record saying that he would have helped Donald Trump coup the government in 2020, yes, I am sure.
Did he say those words specifically, or did he say something that, like, what? Coup the government?
He said that he would have, where Pence failed, he said that he would have succeeded in
1
listening to
million
Donald
% not
Trump
him
and
at this
rejecting
point.
the electorate vote in favor of the one that would make Trump the president, because he felt like that was an appropriate political process if they didn't feel like the results were legitimate.
Okay, yeah. But that doesn't seem like advocating for a coup.
That is a coup.
That's an if then else.
I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, like if you do this, then you have couped the government, correct?
Okay, cool.
Well, I don't think it's cool.
It's funny, we're talking about...
This is what I don't like the nice... I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go do your thing, sorry.
It's like we talk about a specific thing that has rules of engagement, and then we immediately go back to politics. It's kind of funny. I mean, I don't blame you for this. I understand that, but I don't want to talk about politics. I want to talk about rules of engagement. Again, specifically, I see there is reasoning that you want to be violent, but why not choose to be an example and not be violent, right? Because of course, you'd say here, you're having a conversation on X, for instance, and you're talking to a guy who's effectively dead. You're like basically playing with this guy's dead body, because that's what you're doing, right? You're just like quote posting his thing, and you're saying terrible things about him. Now, I'm not defending this guy, what he does or where he was at. I'm just saying that you just have some respect for the dead, right? And you don't have any respect for the dead in this regard, because you're basically interacting with what is essentially a dead person, right? This is really, really, really weird. Whatever you want to do with that, that's up to you. But that's what that is, right?
I mean,
don't you think that the content of what you could say about this guy, like, dude, if you have bad content and what you have to say about this guy, doesn't that kind of go against what it is that you want? I mean, what exactly do you want? Do you want to actually have a discussion in which good content is within that discussion, even though it be peaceful, or are you just going to basically use harmful content and still have the discussion?
So this is my view. Inflammatory rhetoric accomplishes some good things and some bad things, and calm rhetoric accomplishes some good things and some bad things, right? So the reason why people are inflammatory is because it riles up your side. It makes people more emotionally invested. It produces a stronger feeling about a given thing. But typically we don't like inflammatory rhetoric because it usually involves dehumanizing, demonizing, attacking some particular person. It increases the likelihood for everybody to engage in inflammatory acts, and inflammatory acts can put you on an escalatory pathway towards bad actions, right? Which is even more scary. But the issue is as Democrats have been as milquetoast and calm, relatively speaking, when you look at Biden as possible, none of the positives that are supposed to come from calm rhetoric have been realized, and instead it's only been the negatives. Biden has spoken over and over again about how he's not just a president for the U.S., or he's not just a president for one party, he's a president for the entire United States. He's brought together people to support bipartisan legislation, and at almost every opportunity, like that famous speech where he's in front of that red background, he said, listen, not all Republicans are MAGA Republicans. This isn't the entire Republican Party. Despite all of these qualifiers, despite his bipartisan support, at least in Congress, and despite him trying to be a president for all Americans, everybody on the conservative side still gives him all the negatives of the inflammatory rhetoric. So if you don't have anything to gain by engaging in a particular style of discourse, and instead you're just accruing negatives, and if you believe that the other side that is engaging in inflammatory rhetoric is allowed to recoup all the positives of that inflammatory rhetoric, why would you continue to engage in a way that's only hurting your cause, that you're not gaining any benefit from, socially or otherwise?
So if I were to kind of look at this and take that as an argument, does that mean that you want, say, Biden, for instance, to be a bit more inflammatory to kind of reap the rewards of being inflammatory against someone like Trump? Is that what you're kind of getting towards here?
So to be more precise, on
more
the last,
violence.
No, I didn't say violent. There's plenty of steps before violence when it comes to inflammatory rhetoric. So, for instance, in the last debate, I think that Biden should be making fun of Donald Trump more for being for the fact that it looks like his wife is going to leave him. For the fact that he had sex with a porn star. Like, these are things that are personal attacks that Donald Trump does all the time that rile your base up and people like them. Even if it's kind of a shitty thing to do, I would say, as a whole, it's shitty. Donald Trump shouldn't get to enjoy all of the advantages of that while being immune from those types of attacks. For instance, I think a lot of Democrats were pulling ads because of the recent assassination attempt, Republicans wouldn't have done that for Biden. I don't think Democrats should be pulling ads for it. But yeah, I believe that he should be engaging more in the rhetoric that Donald Trump is, because he's not getting any credit for not doing that. So why not?
Do you think he's like actually capable of that?
Yeah, it's much easier to stand up on stage and lie and do slogans than it is to try to rattle off 400 different stats and numbers that nobody cares about.
I mean, he kind of has done that, if you want to take that position.
No, not really. He generally sticks up and he tries to be like a pretty nice dude, and he tries to, yeah, generally. Do I need to define the word?
True. No, therein lies the problem.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
That was fun.